Hello everyone, my name is Adam Michael Anthony Simpson and you're watching my YouTube channel, Adam M.A. Simpson. Today we'll be speaking with Jorge Meraz. Now Jorge Meraz is a fellow BIPOC Latinx student in my department here at Stanford in the Civil and Environmental Engineering department. He has a unique experience as a Mexican American student from Chicago, and how he got into research, being a hustler from, going to undergrad and trying to find ways to make money in undergrad during the summers, falling into this research path and finding out that he was a natural researcher, and eventually getting into Stanford, and now he's doing research funded by NASA. Such cool research. I think everyone is going to enjoy this episode, not only learning about Jorge's, devotion to making this experience in academia more accessible to people of color, but also a better community for BIPOC, Latinx, people of color here. I think Jorge has done some amazing work, which is why I wanted to interview him, and I think you guys are in for a treat. Please stay tuned, and here is Jorge. Also, check the description box below for where Jorge answers specific questions to in this interview, so that you guys can skip to the parts that you're more interested in. And yeah, stay tuned. So Jorge, introduce yourself.
All right. So hey everyone, my name is Jorge Meraz. I am a fourth year, going into my fourth year PhD student at Stanford in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And though I'm housed in Civil and Environmental, my research is really kind of connects a lot of different disciplines: biology, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering. So I design systems or vessels so that we can produce bioplastics. Awesome. So basically replacing traditional petroleum oil-based plastics with plastics that are made by bacteria.
Awesome. So Jorge, tell me a bit of your background growing up in Chicago and being of Mexican heritage. How has this influenced your trajectory and drive to pursue graduate school, graduate education, academia, science, research?
Yeah. A lot of my drive and understanding, I think, of academic institutions and academia and graduate school in general came about through my being involved with a program in undergrad called the Meraz Scholars Program. Mm-hmm. I'll tie that into kind of my background a little bit later, because I actually didn't make the connection until later on in life, as I started to figure out kind of who I am as a researcher, who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the research came about through the Meraz Scholars Program. I'll be really candid with you about why I got involved in that. The summer before every summer as an undergrad, I was always used to like hustling. I would work some random odd jobs. I would work security. I used to work security for football. Wow. For the Chicago Bears. So I got to meet some of the players. I worked on the field once, which is pretty cool. I used to work at a mall selling internet to folks. Wow. I used to work at an amusement park that later closed down. But yeah, the summer that was coming up after my junior year in undergrad, I was always so used to doing something in the summer. So I said, well, what am I going to do this summer? How am I going to make some money? How am I going to be able to support myself basically for the summer months? And just kind of keep myself busy. I always love to be busy and just thinking and working. And so I got an email through one of our servers as an undergrad, and it said, "Oh, like there's a new program that's coming to your undergrad." I went to undergrad in Chicago, Loyola University, and yeah, it said apply to be part of this program. I applied, thinking about what was I going to do next summer, not really knowing what research was about, but I knew that they were going to pay me to do it. So I was like, okay, this would be cool. I studied abroad. I left that second semester, so I applied in the fall. I left in the spring semester to study abroad in China for about 6 months. And while I was over there, I got interviewed for this program. And they asked me like, "Oh, well, why do you want to go to grad school?" I totally bombed the question. They're really focused on going to a PhD program, and I said, well, at the time I was studying forensic science, and I was like, I think I want to I think I want to be a pharmacist. I think I want to go to pharmacy school, which was not in the typical trajectory of what they're looking for. Thankfully, they kind of took that with a grain of salt, and they're like, all right, we're going to train you to do research, like pick a mentor. They offered me the position to do summer research, and I chose a mentor while I was abroad in China, and I actually stayed a little bit longer in China so that I could connect with my mentor, because it ended up being that faculty was teaching a summer course in China. So I stayed a little bit longer, got to know my mentor like really, really well. We connected on research topic and research interest, and yeah, we just kind of hit it off, and I started doing research, and I was like, wow, I could see myself kind of doing something like this. And it kind of it felt a little kind of intuitive, maybe normal. I don't know what the right terminology is, but I just kept asking questions. And I think that really comes from my background of like how I grew up with my family, with my parents. I am the first in my family to pursue graduate education, first generation college student, and I especially helped my dad. My dad doesn't speak too much English, so when growing up, like my siblings and I, we were the ones that would translate paperwork for him, go with him to like different offices to apply for like different documents, and we were always the ones asking like why does he have to do this, why does he have to do that, how can he go about doing this, like why does it cost this much, like always asking why. And so but that didn't like become apparent to me until recently, when I was thinking about like just in the times of COVID, I've had a lot of time to kind of basically process a lot of what's going on in the world. Thinking a lot about my family, because it's gonna be about a year almost that I haven't seen any of them, maybe even longer. I don't think I'll be going back for the holidays to go see them. And so
similar situation for us.
Yeah, so I found myself just thinking about them a lot, and as I was like saying a little bit earlier, I talk to them almost every other day. I mean, my mom especially. When I moved out to California, we've been kind of in constant communication, either every day or every other day. Like, hey, how you doing? How's it going? But yeah, getting back to this topic of research, yeah, I think just growing up and being exposed to a lot of how my dad kind of had to navigate the like institutions and different areas, and how he kind of fit into the community with us helping him. That's really where a lot of the drive of like asking why, a lot of the questions come about. Yeah, we grew up on the southwest sides of Chicago. So if you know the geography of Chicago, those areas are predominantly Mexican American, Latinx. So yeah, I grew up with a really strong connection to my community and
heritage.
heritage. Like it's always been a part of who I am and who I continue to be, even in grad school. Yeah, I think we grew up around family. We were always kind of very personable with each other. We always asked about each other about our days, like how the week went, what your plans were for like the coming days or in the future. And I think that really comes across in how I interact with people just on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Even in grad school. I mean, I part of me loves research, but a part of me also loves the people doing
the people.
So I always love to get around. I always love to like ask, like, hey, how's your day going?
Yeah.
And what's life been like? And that's just been something that's kind of instilled in me since
you're young.
So I was young, yeah.
Yeah. So now we're both in the same department. Well, I was in the same department, which is how I met you. However, I also know you through your many outreach activities that you're involved with on campus. And this is going to be a very long explanation of what Jorge has been doing. So bear with me, viewers. You actively work with the Office of Student Affairs in the School of Engineering, where you are a graduate intern under the supervision of Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Lourdes Andrade, in the School of Engineering. I said that before, and focus mainly on building graduate community, inclusion, and outreach. You've also served as a research mentor for Stanford SOE Undergraduate Research Fellowship, that's SURF, a program that mainly caters to giving research opportunities to underrepresented minorities, and a committee chair for the Graduate Pathways to STEM, a program that introduces graduate school opportunities to underrepresented minorities. Now, what drives your motivation to pursue outreach during your graduate studies?
Well, this is my baby. all these different initiatives that I've been involved with. So I've been involved with them for about 4 years, going on 5 years now, with the Office of Student Affairs. I started like very early on in my graduate education. I didn't preface this earlier, but I came to Stanford with the intention of doing a PhD. And so I came straight from undergrad, not really knowing what that meant, what a PhD meant. And I didn't really have any formal training in kind of how do you think, I guess, about research, about being a PhD student. And so I came in with the idea that, maybe I want to do a PhD. So I did my master's, kind of played with the idea of doing a PhD, but was never really set on it just because I didn't know what it was. And so it took a lot of trial and error for me to really figure out, like, is this the right path for me? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I think for a lot of us, like first gen folks, we rely heavily on the community that surrounds us, right? I relied heavily on my family to like more for support, for them to kind of, for them to kind of understand what I wanted to do. I remember I called my mom when I was like, I want to do a PhD. I called her and she was like, what did she say to me? She's like, Mijo, like what does that mean? Do you have to pay for it? Like, how do you, like, why are you going to keep going to school? Very typical, right? Like our parents just don't know, like,
don't understand the process or
yeah. So that was kind of like the switch, right? For me, I was like, wow, like I've been learning from my parents and my family my whole life. To this day, like I depend on them for, like, sometimes I want to cook like a home cooked meal, and I call my mom just on the phone. I'm like, how do I make this arroz, or how to make these beans? How do I do this? And I'm on the phone with her. But this time it was like the script was flipped, where I had to like kind of explain what it is I wanted to do and why I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was like a big sign in like, okay, this is, I know I'm not the only one that has these questions. I know I'm not the only one that's going to go through this process. And it was hard. It was hard for me to like make that transition because, I just didn't know what the steps were to do it.
Yeah.
And so I learned just by like brute force. I was like, I'm gonna do a PhD. I'm gonna do a PhD. Let me like just figure it out.
Way. Yeah.
Find a path forward. I just and I did. Thankfully I did. But I wouldn't want people that are coming from similar backgrounds to myself to have to experience that, because it's tough. It's tough trying to make your own path and find your own way. And I've seen friends kind of in similar positions, and sometimes it wears you down.
It does.
Trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, because it's such a what's the word? Like doing a PhD is it's so big, it's so broad.
Mm-hmm.
How do you really focus in on one thing and do that thing well?
Yeah.
It's a process, right? It's a process. And I decided to be involved in a lot of these outreach initiatives because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started early on in 2016 with Graduate Pathways to STEM, which is the full name is Bay Area Graduate Pathways to STEM, and this is really a 1 or 2 day conference depending on the year. Earlier on, it used to be a 2 day conference, and we switched over to a 1 day format. But it really is for students who are historically underrepresented in engineering or in STEM fields to be exposed to what to expect in graduate school. And they hear from keynote speakers that have gone through the process. We are very intentional about who we invite to be a part of the process, because we understand that there is not a lot of people who are sitting in the front of the classroom who look like us, who look like them, who are who they can connect with. And we go through different sections. We expose them to funding opportunities, right? Like,
exactly.
Even though I was a part of the McNair Scholars Program, I didn't know that I needed to apply. That applying to funding would look good. Exactly. Like, you don't know these things, and it's like it goes back to this whole thing of you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, how are you supposed to know this when your family maybe didn't go to college, didn't go to high school? Like, my dad went to 3rd grade, 4th grade, and my dad is from a ranch in Mexico. And so, I think a lot of these institutions in the current state are starting to realize it, but at the same time, like, a lot of these faculty that we interact with, they grew up in high middle class, like high class environments where, and then
and their parents were probably professors or doctors or lawyers, and so they don't see it the same way. There's just ignorance on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came to Stanford, I was part of a fellowship program that helped pay for my master's. Which was interesting because I had to teach, right, as part of that fellowship program, where I kind of was thrown into teaching engineering courses. I don't come from an engineering background. I was super scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be with all these like Stanford undergrads, like they're way smarter than me. They come from all these different backgrounds. Like, I have no idea, like, they're not gonna listen to me. I was a year older than a lot of the undergrads I was teaching at the time. They didn't know that though. I think my facial hair might have stayed gone. But just interacting with them, a lot of their siblings were like at Brown or MIT
Mm-hmm.
or like all these elite colleges, and I was like, dang, like that's wild to me. Like, oh, our parents are doctors, our lawyers.
Yes.
My parents are professors. I was like, man, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think just my whole experience as an undergrad, like, you know, not seeing anyone who looked like me teaching me my science classes. I did chemistry and environmental science. I never had a professor who
Looked like you.
Was like me, talked like me, who was from my environment. And you know, just going back to graduate pathways at STEM, we try to flip the script, right?
Yeah.
Look at all these amazing people that are faculty that have industry positions in STEM related fields, and show them, like, you know, just because at this point in your life you may have not been exposed to someone who is like you doesn't mean that we don't exist.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, apart from funding for graduate school, we talk about the different degrees that are available: the master's, PhD, the engineering degrees, you know, MBA if they want to pursue an MBA.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we give the kind of like, not guidelines, you know, for clients, but just knowledge for, this is what the application looks like, this is what it consists of.
Mm-hmm.
These are, you know, these are people that you have access to after you're done with the conference. Like, don't feel like you can't email us or ask us for advice or ask us for help, like reviewing a personal statement or a statement of purpose. So yeah, and then, you know, I've been doing that for what, 4 years now, going on 5 years. We're getting ready for our next symposium. It'll be virtual, coming in March. So anyone that watches this video, if you're undergrad and you want to be part of GPS, apply. We're gonna have the application opening up, I believe the end of November, beginning of December, and then starting around mid to late March. But we're gonna have, you know, it's very similar to what we had before. We're gonna teach you about funding, about the application process, about the degrees that are available, and you'll be able to connect with us and connect with people who, you know, you may have not been exposed to before.
Awesome. Thanks for watching part 1 of this interview with Jorge Meraz, and stay tuned for part 2 that will be released tomorrow, and it covers Jorge's super interesting research funded by NASA. So, you know, space research, plastics, bioplastics. Yeah, stay tuned. Also, like and subscribe.